Hi, everyone, and welcome back to day 3 of the social media challenge. How's everyone doing so far? I'm really curious, what was your favorite part up until this point? Was it the goal setting, the audit? Was it the content planning? Or is it today's topic, which is my personal favorite? So let me know in the chat while people are still joining. And in the meantime, hi, if you're new here, I'm Anka. I'm a social media strategist here at Social Bee, and I'm your host for the Social Media Challenge. Together with me, Andrea, my colleague, will be here in the chat as usual, helping you through any issues that you might be facing or any additional resources that you might need to get things moving faster. I can see some answers already pouring in the chat. Today's my favorite day. Yesterday's webinar helped me to make my content in Social Bee more organized and focused and simplify my system. Hola desde Argentina. Saludos. Awesome. So I think we can get the ball rolling and talk about today and how everything will work. So I'll share my screen with you guys, hoping that it gets visible and everything's okay. Can you confirm that you can see my screen? Yes. Awesome. Okay, so welcome again to the 5-day social media challenge. If you're new here, this is a series that we do on a daily basis for 5 days where we talk about all the things that you need in order to create a robust social media strategy. So by the end of these 5 days, and we're on day 3 right now, by the end of these 5 days, 6 of you who are joining us every single day have the chance to win some prizes that we've mentioned before, some Social Bee plans, some concierge services that we offer through Concierge Bee, and even a lifetime membership to our sister company calendar booking solution, ACE Meetings. And all you have to do is commit to being here with us every single day. So today, we're talking about content creation, and I've already mentioned how this is my favorite day so far. I'm an avid content creator, and I actually have a side hustle on Instagram where I'm creating content on the regular basis. So this is by far the most interesting topic that we can talk about with social media content planning and strategy. So this is going to be great. And in today's session, we're going to talk about three content creation strategies that you can apply again and again and again as many times as you need to. So just to recap, up until this point, we have audited our social media profiles. We've made sure we set some realistic, smart goals. And we've planned the content pillars and the schedule set up and structure so that we have everything ready for content. Well, it's time to create that content. And the strategies that we'll talk about today are how you can generate content using AI, batch creating your content, as well as repurposing and reusing your content. And I'll go into a lot more detail on each of these, but one thing I forgot to mention, and I just realized, is that if you have any questions, I didn't remind you that there's a Q&A box that you can use to send those questions to me, just to make sure that we don't miss them, because in the chat they might get missed. So use the Q&A box. It should be somewhere on the bottom of your screen, probably. It's text speech bubbles that say Q&A. So you should be able to find it. If not, tag Andrea and she'll take care of it. But basically add all of your questions from this moment on there. Now let's talk about these strategies, starting with the first one, speeding up your content creation process by using AI. Last year was all about AI taking over most of the tedious tasks that we do in the office and in the processes that we have. So why not include it in the social media process as well? AI tools can help businesses on every step of the way, from brainstorming social media post ideas, outlining an effective content calendar, generating entire social media posts, coming up with reviews, replies to comments, writing scripts for your videos, or even improving existing content. So you can use it in any aspect of your social media strategy where you actually need it. What does this mean for you? It means that the less time you spend creating your content, the more time you'll have to focus on other aspects of your business. So this is especially important for smaller companies or solopreneurs, smaller teams that have to do more in less time in order to be profitable and to grow. So the next time you need to focus on creating content for your social media, take into account using AI. And I'm actually curious to see if you're already using AI in your social media content. So let me know in the chat if that's something that you're already doing or not. I'm also curious to see how many of the strategies that I'm going to talk about in the AI specifically you're already using and what's new information. So let's take the example of creating a social media content calendar. Here we've asked ChatGPT to create a content calendar for March, customized for a business consultant. In this prompt that you see on the screen, we've included some important details such as goal setting, reaching a target audience that's wider, making sure to book more calls. These were the outcomes that we were hoping to have from this content calendar. And we also provided some more information on the calendar and what it should contain. And this is actually what it came up with. So as you can see here on the screen, we ended up with a daily breakdown of the posting schedule with ideas for every social media platform. ChatGPT even recommended a lot more in-depth than we had anticipated with the prompt, a lot more in-depth a process, so to speak. So it's a really good example of a prompt that can help you get things started a lot faster. So with this, I wanted to address a little bit more about how you write an effective prompt on social media. The trick with using AI, as I'm sure some of you already know, is writing a good prompt to get to a good outcome when it comes to the post you're writing and things like that. So I've broken it down in 3 simple steps that you can use to generate better content that's customized to your needs. So step 1, include the topic and the perspective. What I mean here is that you should specify exactly what you want the AI tool to do and to write about, and from what perspective. To give you a good example of this, you can tell the AI to to act as a social media strategist and talk about the topic that you want to talk about. So you can choose the expertise, the profession, in the perspective to make sure that the AI comes up with a good enough response for you. The second step that we've added here is to give enough context. And this is important and very relevant to have enough context about the topic of your post, about who your target audience is, about what's your desired result. Going back to my example here, we've included that our goal is to reach a wider audience on social media and book more customer calls. So we have that, as well as the target audience, which is helping smaller businesses increase their profitability through digital marketing. So that's the context of your prompt. And then the third step is to define any restrictions if you have any. So if you have content length restrictions, specifically on X, or if you need a specific tone of voice, a specific style, a specific title for your post, if it's a YouTube or a Pinterest post. If you want the AI to avoid a specific topic, maybe that's something that you want to branch out of. So make sure to include any limitations that you might have or any restrictions that you want the AI to take into account when creating your prompt. So basically, following all these 3 simple steps, you can come up with a good, effective prompt to write the best social media post that you can. So here are 10 phrases that you can actually use when you're starting to write an AI prompt. And one of them I've already mentioned in the beginning. So act as a, and then include the job title, act as a social media strategist, act as a business coach, act as a fitness instructor, and so on and so forth. You also have things like write a social media post for a specific target audience and get them to do a specific action, to book a call with me, to open a trial, to download the free ebook that I have, things like that. You can also summarize something that you already have and include it into bite-sized pieces. So summarize the following text into a social media post type. That could be you using a blog post into and breaking it down into different social media posts. You can even use things like prioritize uncommon and expert advice on this specific topic, so that you come up with something that's a little less generic when it comes to your result. So I also have here 2 examples of prompts that are good on the right and not so good on the left. So you can see the not so good prompt is generic. It doesn't give up a lot of information. So the AI is going to have to guess a lot of details. Write a promotional social media post for a marketing agency does not tell me who that marketing agency caters to, the location maybe. So if it's specific to a culture, if it needs to be in a specific language even, it doesn't mention any of the services that that marketing agency offers, or any perks of working with them. It doesn't mention their target audience. So the answer that you will get from this type of a post will be very generic as well. On the other hand, if you look at the good AI prompt here, this is a lot more specific. And I've underlined a few of the phrases that I've used in this one to make it a lot better. So I want you to act as a social media specialist. This will give them the expertise or the perspective of writing from the expertise of a social media specialist. Now I'm telling it what to do. Write a promotional LinkedIn post. So I'm focusing my energy on LinkedIn content right now, which means that I want this post to be well done for the best practices on LinkedIn. So I'm going to mention that. Now, I'm also adding about what the post should be about. It should be about how our marketing agency can help who? Our target audience, which is small businesses, increase their sales. I've also asked the AI to address 3 customer pain points and use them and use a persuasive tone of voice to convince small business owners. So I'm reiterating the target audience to book a free call, and I've given the call to action that we should use. You also are able to include things like avoid using aggressive sales phrases, which I've noticed some AI prompts generate a lot of. So I want to avoid that. We don't want that kind of communication, right? Cool. So we have the good and the not so good prompt. And that's it for the AI part. Now let's move on into the second strategy that we have here, content batching. I've included a few tips here on content batching, but before I go into that, let me explain a little bit in more detail what content batching actually is. It's a way for you to sit down on one day of the week, one day of the month, and things like this, and create content for an entire period of time. I typically do this either weekly or monthly, depending on my time. You can do it as often as you need to. The idea behind it is that you take some time, a few hours, to work on the content for the next week or so and make sure that you don't have to worry about it anymore. So that's how you content batch. Now, a few tips that I've included here are: know your typical post anatomy, use post templates for visuals, and have multiple hashtag collections. And I'll go into them in a little more detail. But one thing I didn't mention here is that we also have a few resources here for you. So before we mentioned the AI strategy, and one of the things that I forgot to mention was that we have a resource for you with a lot of prompts that you can use when generating content with the AI. And Andrea, please, if you could add that into the chat, that would be great. On top of that, I also wanted to share a few additional resources on keeping content ideas. So we also have a resource for content ideas that you can use to brainstorm ideas for your content, especially when content batching, as well as a holiday calendar, which is also something that will help you a lot more when it comes to generating ideas. So all of these are resources that are free to use, and please go ahead and use them and keep them in mind whenever you're creating content, because they are really good and they do help a lot in making sure that you spend less time worrying about what to post and more time actually creating the best content that you possibly can. So we're going to go into the content batching by starting with the anatomy of a post. And I have here two different images that explain kind of the anatomy of a post on different platforms. So on the left, you'll have a regular Instagram post that has a visual and a caption. And you can see here that the caption is split between the actual text, the call to action, CTA stands for call to action, and hashtags that you might have. You can also include other elements like tagging other accounts if you're working on a collaborative post, adding a location to your post, or adding a trending sound to your reel, or things like that. And you can do this when you're content batching. It's a good rule of thumb to keep in mind all of the elements that you have when creating a new post. On the other hand, on the right side of your screen, here you'll see a screenshot from SocialBee's post editor, and we'll go into it in a second, and I'll show you exactly how to do all of this. But basically, you're seeing a screenshot of SocialBee's post editor and how you can create a post for Pinterest this time. So the anatomy of a Pinterest post here is using a board for your pins, using a link for your source, using a title for your business, sorry, I was reading the business for your post, using a visual, as well as a CTA or a call to action. So you have all of these elements that you need to keep in mind. But before you start content batching decide which method of content batching you're going to do. So let's say you want to work on Instagram posts. Are you going to work on the captions? Are you going to work on the visuals? Or are you going to work on a post by post basis? This will help you create a strategy that works for you, and a workflow, I guess, that works for you. So you can work on creating all the visuals at once and actually have an awesome trick to share with you guys on batch creating visuals, especially if you're doing things like quotes or testimonials. This is something that I typically show in our monthly workshop, which is about content batching. So Andrea, if you could add the link to our workshop for January, that's the place to go to if you want to work on your content while I work on our content. I share some tips and tricks, I answer questions, and we generally just take time and work on content. So I'm going to be doing way less talking in that workshop and way more active working. It's kind of like a work along where you get to also ask any questions that you might have. And that's where I also share tips and tricks like using different tools to batch create your content whenever possible so that you save a lot more time. Okay, so let's head over to Social Bee. And I'll open up the post editor, and this is where we can look at the anatomy of a post even in more detail. So you'll see how my post editor, actually our post editor in Social Bee, you'll see that it's split in two. So the left-hand side will help you create your content. This is the anatomy side, and the post preview is what is there to kind of give you an idea of what the post will look like. So you'll be able to select all of the profiles that you want this post to go out on. That's the first step in your anatomy of the post. You can then add your caption, you can add your visual through one of the many options that you have here, and you can add your hashtags and so on. So let's just say we have all this. I'm just gonna grab a random prompt from the AI because I don't have a post yet. So I'm gonna go in with the AI post generator, and I'm gonna use a random prompt here to kind of, yeah, I think this works. Let's say a social media related pun or funny quote. I'm using a random prompt from the AI generator to help me brainstorm ideas. That's what I wanted to share. Now I'm going to use the tone of voice being friendly, and I'm going to leave the approximate words around 35. And yes, I wanted to generate hashtags and include emojis. So this is one way in which you can use AI in Social Bee to spice up your content or to come up with content from here. And let's say, I think I like this one. I love social media so much. It's like a photo album where all my friends are glued to their screens. I mean, that's not true at this point, especially if all your friends are social media managers as well. That's like, yeah. Anyway, so I've added this one here. Now it's time for me to generate an image or use one from Canva and so on. So I will skip that step because it's going to take a lot of time for me to go through all of them in more detail. And I do have a lot more to show you guys. But on the topic of AI, you can use Social Bee's AI assistant to generate captions and images in the step of creating content, but you're also able to use the Copilot, which I mentioned yesterday as well, to generate the entire strategy. So you'll have all of the asked questions that you need in order to generate a good strategy for you. So all you have to do is give the right answers to the AI assistant and then work with the results that you're getting there and improve it over and over. Okay, so let's move back in the slideshow for a second. because I want to move a little further into the area of templates for visuals. This is the second piece of advice that I want to give you guys, is to create templates whenever you're creating content, to make sure that you have consistency across your post, to make sure that it's very visually cohesive, I guess is the right word for me to use in this scenario. So you can use templates in Canva, and Canva has a great integration with Social Bee, so you can bring them in super quickly. And again, I do have cool tricks with Canva that I'm sharing in the workshop, so that's also a great resource, but you can always use whatever else you prefer and work with templates. Now, templates are not necessarily just for visuals. You can have templates for your captions as well. You can have templates for your hashtags. You can have a lot more. Now, speaking of hashtags, I've also included some tips and tricks on hashtags here. Identify the main categories or themes of your content, of the content that you regularly post. This is something that we actually did in yesterday's session, so it's a good thing that we did that, right? It's already done, it's check, we did it. You can include a mix of popular and niche hashtags in your collections. So when I'm saying collections, I mean in Social Bee, you have this feature, hashtag collections, which helps you save your hashtags for whenever you need them. If you don't use Social Bee, then you can use this in a notepad app, in a Google Doc, whatever works for you, as long as you have them all categorized by the different topics that they're for. And that's what I mean when I say include popular and niche hashtags in your collections, because we're going to look at business hashtags. That's going to be different niches inside the general business area. There's going to be marketing. And again, we can have social media marketing, we can have online marketing, we have content marketing, email marketing, and so on. So there's a lot of potential with the hashtags that you're going to use. And then another thing is to stay relevant by including hashtags that are seasonal and trending. So for instance, Christmas has come and gone. The new year has come and gone. Those hashtags, in my opinion, should not be used past 15th of January at the most, because it's done, it's expired. You need to focus on what's coming up ahead, what's trending now in terms of hashtags, what's seasonal now, to make the most out of what people might be looking for. The reasoning for this is that keywords in today's online media are actually focusing on SEO. So you can use hashtags as keywords to provide your social posts with SEO. Okay, so next, we have aim for a mix of around 5 to 15 hashtags per collection. If I'm going into Social Bee, you'll see that I don't have more than actually 12 hashtags in each collection. That's because, as opposed to previous years, there have been more recommendations of narrowing down the hashtags and using them more intentionally than they would be used in the past. So just pick a handful of hashtags that are relevant to that post instead of going for a bunch of hashtags that might have minimal relevancy to your post. And then, of course, it's very important that you periodically review and update your collections, because things can get changed. Things can be different from season to season, or the rules or algorithms change. So it's important to keep yourself updated on the best practices when it comes to hashtags, as well as what hashtags you're actually using. And since we're talking about hashtags, I mentioned this yesterday as well, but make sure that you run the list of banned hashtags so that you're not using those, because they will not be effective in helping you grow. So if you have hashtags that will, when you look it up on Instagram, for instance, will not come up with any recent posts, do not use it. That's not going to give you any results, and you're just wasting the hashtag like that. And then we jump into the third and final strategy that we have here. And this one is on repurposing and reusing your content. I'm sure a lot of you actually have a lot of very good content that is not time bound, that's not time sensitive, that you might reuse here and there. So this is a good thing to keep in mind, that you can do this. Now, I'm sure some of you are actually wondering, why would I reuse something that I've already published? And to that, I say a small percentage of your audience actually sees your content. You all know, and we all know, that reach has dropped significantly in the past few years over most of the platforms, actually. So that's because people are starting to see the content that they follow less and less. And from those people that actually see your content, an even smaller percentage will actually remember your post, especially when repurposing is done right. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So all of this essentially is good news for you, because it means that you can reuse your content and put in less effort and get more out of your content there. And on your screen, you're seeing 3 ways to repurpose and reuse your content. And these are customizing your posts for all of your socials, creating variations of different visuals and captions that you might have, and repurposing larger pieces of content into bite-sized pieces. So we're going to go through each of them individually, starting with customizing your post for all socials. This will help you reuse your content from one platform to the other, and making sure that you meet the specific requirements of each platform. I added here 3 examples. For instance, from Instagram carousels, you can create threads for X or actual Meta's threads post. You can also create a LinkedIn text-only post, things like that. Then from a LinkedIn text-only post, you can generate captions for your Instagram, and then you can add in carousels and images and things like that. Or you can create an interesting Pinterest visual with the information in that post, or even from tweets or X posts, you can create images for Instagram, for instance. And I actually have an example here. We have a tweet that we have published sometime in June of last year, and you can see it here. This on the left side, you see the actual tweet. We took that and we created a visual that was perfect for Instagram. And we've just added a little bit of an extra touch by changing the caption to make it a little more relatable. So we have the actual tweet: raise your left eyebrow if content research becomes a long session of mindless scrolling. So we're literally raising eyebrows here. And then in the caption, we've said something like, be honest, did you find this post while doing your content research? Because that's usually how you end up spiraling down a rabbit hole of posts. So this is a great example of how you can do that. Going a little back into customizing your posts for all of your socials, I also wanted to quickly show you how you can do that in Social Bee, because it's very visual and you'll be able to see it all a lot better. So let me generate a post caption again. I'm not going to put in a lot of effort into it because we're not going to post this anyway. So let's just say this one works. I'll include these, I'll make it friendly, there we go. And we're gonna pick one. Hi friends, there we go. Okay, so we have our post. And now let's say I want to add a link. I'll just add socialbee.com to generate the link preview because I want my LinkedIn post to have a link to my blog post talking about that topic. I can do the same on X and on Facebook, but then I run into an issue on Instagram where I'm required to have a visual or I'm required to have a video. As well, on Social Bee, it's telling me that the caption might be too long for X. So I have this button here that says customize for each profile. And when I click it, it'll split the post into a separate instance for each one of my platforms. So now I have a post that has a caption and a link preview on LinkedIn. On Twitter, let's say I want to remove that link and just leave the caption as a text-based post. Let's make sure that we have enough. Oh, come on. There we go. I'll just keep it without hashtags. There we go. So now we have a good post for Twitter. On Facebook, we might want to include a video. And then on Instagram, we're also removing the link and replacing it with a reel. I don't have one on that topic, but I'll just use a random one that I have saved. And selecting this as a feed and reel post. So now I have the same concept of the post, but the way I've set it up for each platform is specific to that platform. Again, for Instagram, I might want to add a location. So I can do that by just typing in London here. And it's going to look for it and I can select it. And for Instagram also, I can add in the hashtags that I want. So I'm going to go with social media marketing this time. It doesn't really work with that post, but you get the point. So there's a lot of customization that I can do. And with customizing for each profile, you also get access to platform-specific features that you can use within Social Bee. So these are some very cool things that you can do in Social Bee, but let's get back to the slides. So I've shown you the example here. Now it's time to look at post variations. This is how you can reuse content that you've already published by tweaking some elements in the visual or in the caption, doing something that would make it feel a little fresh. So for instance, when you want to announce an event or a webinar, you're typically going to do something like a countdown, right? Or for us, we're announcing each day of the social media challenge. So we can create a template for the caption and we can then reuse the same caption with minimal changes for day 1, day 2, day 3, and so on, and use the same visual for the entire challenge because it's recognizable and it's talking about the same event. And that way it'll make it a lot more visible in my audience's eyes. You can also use things like this when you're teasing a product launch. Again, you can create a countdown for that. You can promote a limited time offer by reusing the same concept by rewriting maybe the caption of it or changing the visual to different other aspects of your limited time offer. You can showcase different product features. And I guess the best example is me going back into Social Bee and using a screenshot of the hashtag collections to showcase the platform once. Hey, this is something cool that you can do with Social Bee using the post editor the second time, maybe with the customized feature to show you, hey, this is something else that's also cool about Social Bee that you can use when creating your content. And you know what? I can do all of that exactly in Social Bee because I do have the button here that says add variation. So let's say I'm typing in post 1. This would be the first post that I have, and I'm actually going to remove Instagram so that we don't get any errors for not having a visual there. So now I have one post. Let's say this is a countdown. I can add a variation and change it to post 2. I can add a third variation, change it to post 3. So as you can see, it's minimal effort for me to create this countdown for my post and make sure that each day has the right numbering and the right post in there. So I can do this very easily with things like a countdown, but I can also use it to maybe introduce team members. So let's say I have the whole team in variations here, and the first post introduces Anka, the second post introduces Andrea, the third post will introduce Roxana, the fourth post will introduce Julia, and so on and so forth. So we have all the team members here with their templatized caption that's going to be, hey, this is Anka. She's a social media strategist for Social Bee, and she loves music and makeup. I'm just saying something. So you can customize it a lot more than just changing different tiny parts. You can make a completely different caption as well if you need to. The concept itself could be the template. And when you're scheduling this in Social Bee, you can use specific posting times or the requeue feature. That's something that's available with the categories that we spoke about yesterday. So if I wanted this to requeue, I can just turn on the requeue feature and this will be reused again and again. And that's the purpose of this strategy, right? To reuse the content that you already have. Okay, so moving back into Social Bee, the third thing is to repurpose larger pieces of content into bite-sized pieces. And you can think of anything like webinars or YouTube videos switched into shorts or reels or TikToks. You're probably going to end up seeing shorts from these social media challenges in the future as we trim them down and work them into bite-sized information pieces and bite-sized posts. You can take blog posts that are longer form and turn them into infographics or carousels or text-based posts for LinkedIn or things like this. So you have a lot of options there. And ChatGPT is a great tool to help you do this, as well as another great tool that we use a lot is Opus Clip. That's also something that will be taking your videos from long form and creating the short form versions of that video. So you can even do this back in Social Bee. Let's say we want to use the AI generator to rewrite. There's an entire section dedicated to prompts about rewriting. And we can just use one of the prompts and paste in the text from the blog post, and it would come up with variations that you can then use on your own in Social Bee as well. So there's a lot of great tools out there that can help with a lot of this information. I see a lot of questions in the chat as well. So no plans on integrating with Opus at the moment, unfortunately. But yeah, that, as Andrea said, is a great idea. So we're gonna pitch it to the product team and fingers crossed. So yeah, Nicole, it was Opus Clip. Andrea, can you type it in just to have it in the chat written down so that I can move forward to summarizing the whole reuse strategy. So this strategy here is focusing on repurposing content that you already have, but there are a few suggestions, let's call them suggestions, when it comes to repurposing content that will help you make sure that you're not getting audience fatigue for your audience. So the first thing that I wrote here is republish posts at a slower pace that you would with new content to avoid becoming spammy. When you're publishing content again and again, it can become tedious, it can become boring, and it can become spammy. So avoid it by publishing content that you've published before at a slower pace than you would content that's new. So mix it with new content, basically. The second thing here is to keep track of your post's performance and stop republishing it if it doesn't perform well. And to do this, you can go into analytics tools on your platform, or you can go to analytics tools on your social media scheduling tool of choice. In our case, that's SocialBee. We're going to go into a lot more details in analytics, in the analytics day, the one that's dedicated here, but we can look at let's say least engagement and see what were the posts that maybe we should not be doing in the future. Or I can, on the contrary, look at most engagement and see about things that I could be doing more of in the future. So you can look at these posts, see what works, what doesn't, and if it doesn't work anymore like it did in the beginning, just don't use it anymore. Get it out of the rotation. And then the final piece of advice here is to wait around 90 days before recycling content to make sure that you highlight what type of content you're recycling. So a cycle should have at least 90 days to make sure that it's not being too repetitive too soon. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule. So for instance, Facebook groups that will open a weekly thread maybe could benefit from posting the exact same thing over and over again. But typically for businesses, for business pages, you want to wait around 90 days before actually republishing the exact same content, just to make sure that it's given your audience enough time to digest it, to properly go through it, to maybe forget about it before, or if your audience was not there, to discover it before you reshare it. I see someone asking that you did not see Pinterest in the list. Yes, you do have Pinterest in SocialBee. As a matter of fact, SocialBee has an integration with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google My Business, TikTok, and YouTube. So all the major players are there. Okay, so it's time for me to shut up for a little bit. I'm gonna do like 3 to 4 minutes because I've talked a lot, okay? And I see a lot of questions. So let's take a few minutes and do the practical exercise of the day. Feel free to type it in the chat if you want to. But the exercise is for you to choose 1 or 2 posts that you have already published and figure out a way to repurpose it or recycle them. So I'm curious to see what you come up with. Let me know what the post is and how you're planning on recycling them. I'll give around 5 minutes of silence here, and then we'll pick up the questions and go into them one by one. Okay, so I see some answers starting to roll in. I have a whole YouTube channel that needs to be chopped up for massive repurposing fun. So you're going to have a lot of things to do in the next few months, huh? A lot of content that you can make use of. Sarah says we have a splash video we use on our Zoom account waiting room that explains what the company does. I plan on repurposing it to post it to our socials. That's perfect. That's kind of like an introduction to the brand. And then we have a trade show coming up. I'm going to reword the caption and reuse the same graphic as I've used before when posting. That's also amazing. Chop up. Wait, it jumped. Where is it? Okay, chopped up a blog post on how to sleep better into bite-sized tips for Facebook or Insta and turn them into text-based for X. I would actually need that article, so I'm going to save it. I would recycle my professional tips and advice posts to include updated trends for 2024, and also quotes that are more to do with the present situations. That's great. Are your tips in text format or are they in video format? Because if they are already in text, you could redo them to have them in video as well, and that would give you a lot more options. Use it to advertise my new blog on Blue Light. Awesome. Post on tips on Instagram. So there's an Instagram post that could be repurposed into different platforms where I could have the link seen better, and I could add music to the graphic. That's amazing. Take the tips that I just wrote and break them up into little posts. So yeah, there's a lot of good reusable content in there. I also see a question on how do you get to the AI generator. You can use it in your SocialBee account, and there's also a free version on our website, socialbee.com, so you should be able to access it on both pages. Okay, so with that in mind, I'll stop sharing my screen. We're stopping the exercise for now. Feel free to continue after the session is done, but there's technically 8 more minutes. We're gonna go into a little bit of overtime, but I don't wanna hold you off for too long. There's a lot of questions that we wanna go through. So let's do that. Oh, one more thing before I forget. So if you haven't taken advantage of the offer that we have, this is your reminder that you can get a discount for both monthly and yearly plans. And also, if you have any additional questions, you can always reach out to us, myself, Anka at socialbee.com, or hello@socialbee.com. And with that, we're going into the Q&A session. So first question that we have here. I missed yesterday's session. Will you send a recording and also a recording of the webinar after on how to use SocialBee? I have a subscription, but I don't know how to really use it. You should get a recording of both if you were registered to both. You should have gotten them, I believe, at least for the session. We definitely sent that one. So yes, you should get recordings via your email. Okay, so next question. Hi, yesterday we learned about fixing our failed posts directly in SocialBee. I did that last night. Question, once we fix the failed post by editing the original post, can we delete the failed post? The answer is yes, delete it. It will not change your actual post from your actual category. So yes, delete the failed instance of your post. Next question. When I post using SocialBee to LinkedIn, there's a problem. Using SocialBee, the graphic is at the end of the post, losing all its impact. How do I get SocialBee to post with the graphic first, then the text of the post? I'm not sure exactly what you mean. If you could send us some screenshots of what you mean and all this information at success@socialbee.com, we can look into it. Next question that we have here, can you give me a good AI prompt for a fashion blogger using affiliate links to monetize my social media accounts? Well, you could start by asking the AI to act as a successful fashion blogger. And then you could talk a little more about the topic that you'd like to address in that specific post, and including the CTA to using the affiliate link. Now, there's a lot of additional questions here, whether you want to disclose the link as affiliate or not. So I guess the answer is a little more complex. We can take it offline if you want to. You can email me and we can work on a prompt that would work for you and make it easy to digest so that we can actually get some good results. But start by adding the perspective of the fashion influencer, the fashion blogger, using affiliate refunds, what am I talking about? Affiliate links to monetize your social accounts. That would be the goal, to monetize your account by using your links. You can also talk a little more about your target audience, whether it's, male or female, what age range, what budget they usually have, things like that, so that it can come up with the best prompt possible. Can I content batch for 90 days or 360 days? Is that advisable? I mean, you certainly can. The risk with creating batches of content for longer periods of time, especially for a full year, is that if that content is I mean, the content could be time sensitive. The content could, the situation could change. Let's say the best example that I can give is the pandemic back in 2020. So if you plan, as a travel agency, if you planned all of your offers for summer vacations in January and you then never check back, in March, everything that you've posted would be really insensitive to the situation that the entire world would be going through. So yes, you can batch content for longer periods of time, but if you do so, make sure you revise the content here and there to make sure that it's still relevant to the situation of that time frame. Next question. What are hashtags based on from AI? I research hashtags to see how popular they are and what competitors are using. Do you have a tool to help with that other than AI? We do have a hashtag generator in Social Bee that's a little more contextual. So it's going to look at your image and your post and come up with hashtags that could potentially work in the context, but other than that, not in Social Bee. When thinking about hashtag tools, I'd say the best way for you to go about it is to use the platform specifically. So go on Instagram, go on TikTok, and see what the hashtag usage is, how many people are using it, whether it has recent posts or not, and things like that. And to answer the first part of your question, what are hashtags based on from AI? Usually it's context. So that's what it's based on. Next question. When you bulk create images in Canva, can you bulk import them all at once? Unfortunately, at the moment, no, but we are working on improving the integration with Canva this year. So it's going to be possible in the future. In the meantime, what you can do is download them all from Canva and use the import media feature to import them in bulk in Social Bee. So that would import them all at once. Next question. Is the AI assistant included in the basic subscription? Yes, it is. You'll have the AI assistant regardless of the plan that you have on Social Bee. Next question. I have different categories of content batching. Photo prompt Friday, masterclass Monday. I'm going to bring this closer because it's a lot harder for me to see at this time of the evening. Each of these categories has its own template that include the business name, but the two, for example, aside from the business name, do not have a consistent theme. Do we think it's okay, or should my business page have one solid look all the time? I fear it would get boring over time. I understand where this is coming from, and I feel like the solid look doesn't have to be a specific template that you use every single day, but rather it could be a cohesive look by having your images have the same color palette, by using the same types of elements and things like that. So I do feel like a cohesive, solid look is a good thing, but not necessarily using one template across all of your posts, if that's what you mean. Where do you look up banned hashtags? You do so on the platform. So on Instagram specifically, when you look up a hashtag, and I gave an example yesterday. I think it was beauty blogger, hashtag beauty blogger. If you look it up on Instagram, you'll see -1 when it comes to the number of posts there, and you'll see only a few top posts, no recent posts. That means that this hashtag is no longer discoverable and you're using it for nothing. So it's basically not helping you in any specific way. Another good example is hashtag desk, which I know it's not relevant for a lot of things, but basically, if you use it for nothing. So you can look up the hashtags on Instagram. Typically, if you see recent posts on that hashtag, then it's workable. Okay, next question. Are there actual lists of different platforms for banned hashtags? I think so. So for Instagram specifically, I know there are. If you Google banned hashtags Instagram 2024, I'm sure lists will come up. I'm not sure about the other platforms though. Can we create carousels in Social Bee? And if yes, how? This is a great question. So in your post editor, let me go back and share my screen. There we go. So in your post editor, you'll be able to add multiple posts, multiple images at one time. So let's say I want to add my coffee image here, and I can then drag and drop my hashtags image here. I know these make no sense right now, but basically we're just adding multiple images into the same post, and based on each platform, they will turn into carousels. So if we're looking at Instagram, you have a little arrow here that's not very visible right now, but it will help you sift through the different images in this carousel. So yes, you can create carousels in Social Bee. Okay. Is Instagram carousel just the name of an Instagram post with multiple images, or is there some other feature that I'm unfamiliar with? No, it's the post with multiple images. That's a carousel post because you can slide it from one image to the next. Where is the customized post for each platform? It's under your text box in Social Bee. So if I'm sharing my screen again, you'll see it right here. So you have the text box and then you have the customize for each profile button here. Okay, where and how can I learn how to use the AI generator for images? It's super easy to use. You can click on it and add a prompt here. So I guess the more detailed the prompt, the better the image. Let's say a glass of lemonade with a vase of flowers in the background. Let's see what it comes up with this background. There we go. So you just type in your prompt. If you already have a caption, Social Bee would actually generate some prompt ideas based on that caption. And then you can use this in here to generate content, and it'll come up with variations of posts that would, an image that would work. So let's say I like this one, I can just use it in my post, and now I have this as well here. So just like that, I also have lemonade in my posts. So yeah, that's how you use the AI generator, image generator, actually. Okay, next question. Let me bring this back closer. Currently, my business is home base is on Substack. I wonder if there's any Social Bee plans to have any kind of Substack integrations. Not that I'm aware of, but let me pitch it to the product team. You can always have your suggestions sent in either via email or adding them directly to our roadmap. Andrea, I'm not sure if you have it on hand. Add the roadmap link in the chat. It's a great way for you to see what's coming up next, especially for 2024 with Social Bee, and you're able to suggest posts there as well. Not posts. I'm clearly tired. You're able to suggest features there as well. Next question. If you requeue a post in a category, how do you ensure it doesn't post again the right away? So you can include a post in a category, and that post will go in a queue. So if you have 10 posts in your category, that post will be a part of your 10 post queue. Now, it depends on how much content you have in your category. So in my example, 10 posts, but it also depends on the number of times you have that category scheduled. So if your category is scheduled once a week, it will take 10 weeks for it to loop back to that post. If your category is scheduled once a day, it will take 10 days to loop back into that post. So it's kind of like that. You look at how frequently you're posting and how much content you have, and that's how you can figure out how often it will repost. This year, we're also looking at creating a feature to help you with making sure that it doesn't repost before the 90-day mark as well. Next question. How can I repurpose a post so that it's shared 90 days later? You have enough content to make it through the 90 days. So you loop enough content so that by the time it reaches it back in Social Bee's category, you would have already spent the 90 days, or you're scheduling it at specific posting times. For now, as I said earlier, we are working on a feature for that as well. How important is quality when it comes to postings? Should I spend a lot of time on the content itself, or should it just be used to communicate in a brand stylized way? I feel like this would be a long story, really. Quality is important, I would say, but a lot of us overthink the posts too much, especially if you have imposter syndrome or something like that. And it might just be a good rule of thumb that if you're starting to think about it too much and you're starting to wonder about it too much, just send it on its way. And it's a lot easier to just communicate in a brand stylized way. So I think it's a little bit of both, actually. Next question that we have here. We only have 3 questions left here, and I'm gonna check to make sure that there are no missed questions in the chat after that. Are the cool discount offers for these sessions only for new peeps, or can those of us who are old bees use the discount codes too? These cool discount codes are unfortunately only for the people who are joining now through these sessions. But if you do need a discount, you can always reach out to us and we'll see what we can do. Maybe we can make something happen. Not saying that we can. I can't promise anything, but you know, you never know. Next question that we have here. Can you talk a little bit more about why hashtags are important? Do they bring in more followers? Do they get more views? How do I know I'm using good hashtags? Does AI help come up with hashtags? So let's take these one at a time. Why are hashtags important? They're important for SEO purposes. They're going to help index your post in the search engine that is that social media platform. So in this case, it would be Instagram or Facebook or whichever platform that you're working with. That's one thing. So if people are looking for meal plans on Instagram, if you have hashtags in that area, then you would be visible to those people. The second question, do they bring in more followers? They bring in more visibility, and through the process of bringing in more visibility, yes, you get exposed to a bigger pool of potential followers. So in the long term, they might. It's not a direct consequence, but they might actually do that. Do they get more views? Again, potentially, if you're using the right hashtags. And that's because each hashtag has a size, right? The number of posts that you see people posting on that particular topic. So if I go on Instagram right now, and I'll actually do this live, let's say I type in hashtag social media marketing. So social media marketing with a typo that I wrote has under 100 posts because it's a typo. So you have to be looking at that as well. But social media marketing written correctly has over 24 million posts on that hashtag alone. So 24 million posts and higher are actually using this hashtag. So if you are some small business that has maybe 2,000, 3,000 followers, you will not get any visibility from a hashtag that's that big. It will help you with the SEO part, but it will not help you with the visibility. So you gotta mix it, the hashtag social media marketing, with something that's a little lower in the number of usages, the number of posts created with that hashtag to gain more visibility. Something that's in the tens of thousands maybe instead of millions for that particular one. How do I know I'm using the good hashtags? You create a mix of hashtags that are there to identify the niche, so SEO purpose. You use some hashtags that generate visibility that are contextual, so based on what your post is about, and you look at how they perform. In Instagram specifically, you do have some insights that will tell you whether your hashtags are working well or not. So you can use that as well. And yes, AI does help with coming up with some hashtags, but my advice would be to look them up on the platform as well to make sure that they are visible enough, that they make you visible enough, and that they're not banned as well. Can we place links within carousels? Yes, you can place links anywhere in your text, but be aware that on Instagram, links will not become hyperlinked regardless of whether it's a one image post or a carousel. That's because Instagram itself does not allow link placements. So it will be just plain text. On other platforms like LinkedIn, like Twitter, like Facebook, yes, you can add links, but they will not be in the carousel. So you're not going to be able to click the image and take you to the post, but rather in the text box as a hyperlink. When you create a reel, do you have access to trends or Instagram templates? On Instagram, yes. In Social Bee at the moment, no. That's because they do not have API access for these features. So you would need to have the reel already created so that you can upload it into Social Bee to schedule it. I have a strategy of using AI generated posts for business posts and my researched human content for my personal profile. Does this hurt my business posts? I don't think it actually hurts, but what I would do is I would create kind of a mix when it comes to AI generated content. AI can still get it wrong. AI can still not align with your values. So I would always overlook what the AI generated posts are and add a human touch for those as well. I also see a few more questions that Andrea has sent over from the chat. So I have two here. Please advise on content batching. Is it best to do monthly, every 90 days, or every 360 days? Which is best for time-poor business owners? I believe I also addressed this in the Q&A box, but I think it's best to do it weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly in order to keep your content relevant. If you don't have that much time, then I guess you can stretch it to 90 days or so, but 360 days for your content is a little long. I feel like a full year worth of content can be dangerous territory if, you know, if the context changes. And then the other question that I have here, and this is the last question for today. When posting with Social Bee on LinkedIn, I'm unable to edit the post once it's published. Is there a way to do so? You can edit it from LinkedIn. You cannot edit it from Social Bee. Once your post is being published, you can only go to that post from Social Bee. You're not able to edit it in any way from Social Bee. You cannot edit it from LinkedIn. Okay, I haven't actually seen that. So let's take this further via email. I'll investigate it and then we can see what's coming up with that. Awesome. Great. Okay, so I think that concludes today's session. We did go a little bit overboard, so I'm sorry for the long webinar, but you guys had a lot of fun questions and I cannot skip fun questions. So again, thank you all for joining us on today's session about content planning. I'll see you guys tomorrow with day 4 of the social media challenge. And I'll also follow up soon enough with the recording of today's session and all the details that you have there. Again, if any questions pop up, feel free to reach out to us, hello@socialbee.com or anka@socialbee.com. Tomorrow, I can see someone asking about the agenda for tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about, let me scroll back because I forgot the order. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about engagement. Thank you, Andrea. You're faster than me. So yeah, tomorrow we're talking about engagement on your social media content. And then day 5 will be dedicated to analytics. So that's what we're talking about. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are in the world.